All right, we're back, and without further ado, I'd love to introduce Rahn Wakely, Head of Cybersecurity at AMP Financial Services, all the way from Sydney. Rahn, come on out. Welcome. Doing great. I won't try the good day thing again, because I think I got that wrong. So let's talk a little bit more before we get to the questions that were submitted about this whole CMDB enrichment thing, because I think that got a lot of people excited.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
This idea that suddenly security becomes an ally to IT by providing more and more context that they can then leverage. So if you could tell everybody sort of the experience you had.
So our CMD wasn't accurate. I was really hoping it would, because that's sort of the lifeblood of a security team. But we just pushed ahead anyway. What we did is use the data we got, fixed up the stuff that we didn't have as and when we needed it, and then realized that we could fix the rest with our vulnerability scanning. That was really powerful.
Fantastic. Well, why don't you have a seat, and we'll get to some of these questions from Piero. Piero, do we got a few coming in?
Yeah, we do. The first one that came in was asking about, so Ron, how long did it take you to implement security operations?
6 weeks.
What did you get done in those 6 weeks?
So we got the vulnerability management module put in and running. We got the threat management module put in, and we got the incident management module put in. All of them at a base level, but most of them delivering value. All of them delivering value straight away.
You guys are working with KPMG, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
That's a fantastic result in 6 weeks.
Yeah. So one week we spent co-designing. KPMG were awesome. They sort of really helped with the scope, and then 5 sprints. 5 sprints a week, daily stand-ups, and that's how we did it.
Wow, that's great. What do we got next, Piero?
Yeah, so another one in here on, so how did you decide where to start?
So KPMG really helped a lot with that. I watched the videos online, and I kind of thought, it's all awesome. I want the whole lot. I want it right now.
It is awesome.
It was really great. A good partner, someone who'd done it before, they really helped. So that was a real winner for me.
Gotcha. Let's see what else we've got here.
So while Piero's finding the next question, so you obviously were trying to figure out the place you could have the most meaningful impact to start. How did you think about measuring that, right? So obviously you knew the vulnerability response process was something you wanted to improve. You knew the IR process was something you wanted help with. You know, obviously automation is something you're thinking about. How did you go about deciding this is the area that I'm going to start? This is my focus.
I think one of the things that I really liked from watching the videos is that the reporting comes straight out of the box. I know the types of reporting that we have already. A lot of it is very manual. It's really hard for my team to create these reports. With cyber being such an important issue in financial services, which is where I'm from, I'm up at the board like almost every other week, and especially when there's major events in the industry. So just having that automated reporting was a great place for me to start. That was sort of a key requirement for me.
Excellent, excellent. What else we got, Piero?
You know, I've got a couple questions I'm trying to munge together. And so essentially, a few people have asked, you know, how do I get started? Where do I, you know, when do I know I actually need this? And so maybe the first place is, you know, what triggered you to actually say, you know what, I've got to go look at security operations versus doing what you were doing earlier? What was the day you had to say, oh my gosh, I've got to go look at this?
Great question. So the IT team at AMP had already purchased ServiceNow. My guys had done a security review on ServiceNow, and in that, they'd sort of uncovered that there's a security module. And then we had all these other types of problems going on. So it was too good of an opportunity to let go past. I really didn't want the IT teams having more capability than I had as well, so that was sort of a key driver.
You may have answered the question about the relationship in here between security and IT. But another really good one that just came in is, what's the general size of your environment? You know, and how many FTEs, and you may have to include some KPMG people in here as well, but how many of them are working on the process that you're doing with managing vulnerabilities?
So I've outsourced my security operations. So the function of looking at those types of things day to day is outsourced, and that's a very recent thing. and there's 4 guys that do that. In terms of KPMG, I think they had 1 lead developer and a couple of juniors. I think there was only 3 of them, and my team's about 10 people that work directly for me, and probably about another 30 that work in various outsources, so indirectly.
Maybe a way to ask that question earlier a little bit differently. You focus on vulnerability response. I know you improved the process by 60%, which is great, but what sort of led you to know that the existing process was inadequate?
Just the turnaround, like the finding the vulnerabilities was really easy for us, and especially in the network scans, the whole process would take around about 12 weeks, 3 months before we'd get it finished and we could start again. And so there's really no point running more vulnerability scans until you can fix up or know the position you're in for the rest of them. So really, that was the opportunity for me. Drop that 3 months basically down to anything, and we've dropped it down to a month now, and we've only really started on the journey. So we want to turn a month into weeks and weeks into days.
So you went from 12 weeks to 1 month?
That's right.
That's pretty awesome. So is vulnerabilities the only thing you sort of feel like you need to do this for? If you think about configurations and sort of other aspects of an endpoint, you're looking at similar assessment processes like that down the road?
Yeah, sure. I think probably the vulnerability one was the one that I really wanted to close off, because that's the sort of thing that would get me on the front page of the paper. The other things that were really, really good for us was a service catalog, and that's kind of not really a security thing, but just templating up the types of things that we do, pen testing, risk assessments, privacy assessments, having them available so people can just go and click a button and order it, fill out some of the prerequisites. I saved a lot of time in that as well. So that's sort of another focus area for me. We've got about 40 more services that we're just running through defining. We want to get them onto the service catalog as soon as possible.
Great, great. I know that's something we haven't actually talked a lot about, is the whole service catalog, but you have a whole infrastructure built out to allow people to request services of your team.
That's right, yeah.
Excellent. Pierre, what else do we have?
We've got another really good one in here. So Ron, how mature were your processes before you got started, and how do you feel about them now?
That's a great question. I used to work in that team, so it's only been in the last couple of years that I sort of moved out and into the head of department role. I would say when I was there, they were really, really great. And I thought they were really great when we sort of engaged KPMG, but it turns out they kind of weren't as good as what we thought they were. And I thought that was going to be a real showstopper, because I'd promised KPMG we could supply all the workflows and that sort of thing. But it actually wasn't really a showstopper. We worked through it. We defined up the minimum you need to do an incident, and then we just built on it. Every time one would come up, we just add that little bit in, and it sort of helped develop itself over a couple of weeks. So that was a real lifesaver for me.
That's great. I don't know anybody else whose processes weren't as good as they thought they were.
Poor Chad.
All right, Piero, what else do we have?
We've got a question in here that's it's actually asked of all of you. And so we can maybe have a few people jump in with just what are the types of attacks that are most common, and what are the things that we should be most afraid of right now?
I just heard ransomware in the audience.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I've heard that a few times this week.
I still think phishing.
Phishing.
The phishing thing is something that people are dealing with. We do have the ability to also search Exchange, find unopened emails and delete them out of Exchange. So if you look at your phishing footprint, that's something that we can help automate as well. But that's definitely a point of entry for
Yeah,
folks.
I mean, the masking attacks are still there. So the denial of service type stuff, even if it's not large and bringing your entire data center down, it's it's distracting you. It's bringing your attention to something where they can bring in the phishing or the other type of malware on the other side. So still seeing a lot of that as well.
What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, for me it's phishing. Phishing's the number one thing that we have to deal with, and ransomware is still a little bit of that, and the CEO type scams as well. We get a bit of that following the phishing, so it's sort of like a bit of a distraction for us. Interesting fact: our phishing campaigns always happen on Tuesdays, so I don't know why, but Tuesday seems to be the day.
Tuesday's phishing day?
Tuesday's phishing day.
All right. Well, I mean, from my perspective...
The time zones.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
from my perspective, I think anything that saves time that you can automate creates more time to do the kinds of things that people really want to do in their jobs, right? To do the hunting, to look for things. So if you look within your own processes or your own infrastructure and you say, oh, phishing is where I'm spending most of my time, then obviously making that automatic means massive time savings and an ability to focus in new areas. Well, great. I know, Piero, we probably have time for one quick more, or we should just wrap.
You know what? We need to get Rich to his session.
We need to get Rich to a session. All right. Well, I know a bunch of people want to see the detailed Trusted Security Circles solo sessions. So why don't we invite up everybody to say thanks. Rahn, why don't you come on up? Rahn Wakely, everybody. Rahn, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Rich Raybach, Head of Engineering. Rich, come on up. You can stay here. Rich, thanks. Harold, Head of Product Management.
Well done.
Big round for the team. In closing, first step, don't be Chad. He's not gonna let us live that one down, I think, for a while. Yep. The second thing I would say is we've got a lot more sessions coming up. So we've got a slide that walks through all the sessions that we have, and really appreciate all the energy around the security community that we're building inside ServiceNow and with our customers. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for the energy you've put into this area. This is, I fundamentally believe, to the core of me, the next-gen way to do security, and is going to make a profound impact on the industry as a whole. So thank you all for being part of that journey. This was the afternoon show with ServiceNow Security. Thanks for watching.